I will be doing a book review on the book My New Family, A First Look at Adoption, written by Pat Thomas and illustrated by Leslie Harker. This book does a nice job of focusing on how to help children deal with being adopted and what happens when you're adopted. Throughout the book, it talks about different things you might be feeling as an adopted child and that your family still loves you no matter what. This book focuses also on how not all families are the same and you may or may not look like your new adopted family. This page in particular is one of the first ones and talks about how an adopted child needed a family and your new adopted parents needed a child, so they wanted you to be a part of their family. This does a nice job of explaining in simple terms to kids that it doesn't really matter who their parents are as long as they love them, and they're always wanted. Another part of the book discusses about their birth parents, and that their birth parents are people who sometimes can't look after them like they would like to, and that is why they choose to give them up to a new home or family. This doesn't mean that their birth parents didn't want them, because they just want their kids to have a better life. It was great to see in this book that there were tips given to children on how they could also deal with their feelings, and that it's typically normal for them to be feeling things like this, and also for them to not be afraid to ask their adoptive parents about their birth parents or any other questions they have about adoption. As I read this book, it made me think about how I could help my future students if they're going through something like this. It may be a harder transition for some compared to others. This book did reflect the world as I know it, but it also did give me a little bit more insight on how an adopted child might feel or questions they might have to ask for their parents or even their teachers. Another great part of this book was that in the back it had a section on how to use this book. It talked to parents about how they could use this book to talk to their children about adoption or how to prepare them for what their adoptive child might be asking them. It also included other books they could use, as well as online resources, which is always very helpful to use more than one book or resource when talking about this subject. Overall, this book does a phenomenal job at breaking down what adoption means and how it can work in terms that any child can understand, as well as includes different emotions children may feel and why they might be feeling that way. There are also many different races included in this book and doesn't just focus on one race, which helps to have other children connect to different people they see in this picture book. This book is a memorable piece of literature because it can be very helpful for kids, parents, teachers, and lots of other people. It includes more resources in the back, as I previously stated, which is great to use to learn more about adoption. It exemplifies the nonfiction genre by including a glossary, other resources, and a how-to guide as well. I would definitely highly recommend this book to people who want to learn more about adoption or need to learn how to talk to their children about it, or even to teachers who have some students in their class who have been adopted and are struggling to come to terms with that.